This is Bobby.
And this is Jennifer.
And we're from Cleveland, Ohio.
And you are listening to the BBQ Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine. How's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
We ate sushi for wieners.
Oh, listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, welcome to the second hour. Here we go. This is the BBQ Central Show. Welcome aboard. If you missed the first hour, shame on you. We talked with Adrian Miller about Columbus Hill and who he is and what his history was and how he had his barbecue reputation sullied by a 20,000, 30,000. How many people were... Okay, so it was originally planned for 20,000 VIPs, but 50,000 people showed up. Alcohol was passed out to get people to chill out. That never works. And then a riot ensued. His legacy, a tad tarnished. Then he did smaller parties after that. Go back and get that first hour if you missed it. And you're getting this podcast out of order. This will be Thursday's show coming up. Adrian Miller. Absolutely killed it. Great first-time guest. And then following Adrian was Ben Volpe. We talked about type 1 diabetes 6 years ago. He's 14 now. 6 years ago, he was 8 years ago, he was diagnosed with juvenile type 1 diabetes. Maybe I'm not saying that right, but it's type 1 regardless. We talked about his diagnosis leading up, what it was like, what his day-to-day is like. Also, we are trying to raise funds here in this BBQ Central Show themed telethon. /TV-thon, whatever. If you're on Facebook right now, you can hit up my page and watch the live stream. There are links being thrown up there throughout the show. One is through a Facebook donation page. One is also through the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation page, the JDRF page. So if you feel more comfortable donating through there, that's fine. I am asking, possibly, if you give some type of mention to barbecue or Centralite or something. A lot of you guys like to be anonymous. I get it. I just want to make sure that the people know that the Centralites are out in full force supporting Ben and what he has had to put up with for the last 8 years, and also trying to increase the efforts of wiping up and out type 1 diabetes if at all possible. And that kind of helps with your cash for research and all that stuff. So again, if you can prove to me you made a one-time $500 donation, I will match your $500 donation. I only do that once because I'm only, so rich. So that's what happened in the first hour. Still to come on this here show, Doug Scheiding will be joining me. We'll be talking a little bit about Traeger. We'll be talking a little bit about his past weekend's success at the Bandera Rodeo, I think it was, or something Bandera-like, if I'm not mistaken. And then we will close the show with Chris LaRocco from Trae Fuels. That's the company that secured the sole manufacturing of Kingsford wood pellets. He's a first-timer. A lot of first-timers tonight. Doug is the only mainstay. Everybody else first-timer of the show. That's great. All right, let me see here. I got a phone call coming in. So in celebration of the Cavaliers making it to a fourth straight NBA final against the Warriors, not too enthused about that, somehow I have landed Christopher Mad Dog Russo on the phone to give me some breakdown and some thoughts and all of that stuff. So, oh my goodness. How excited are we?
Everybody, Chris Mad Dog Russo here with you, and I'm here on the great BBQ Central radio networks, talking a little bit about sports. Of course, if you are a fan of Mad Dog Unleashed, you can hear me on the great Sirius XM from 3 to 6 Eastern Time, and I'm here to talk about the great NBA Finals that are going to be taking place here in 2 days' time. So a quick turnaround for the Golden State Warriors, and I gotta tell you here, my friends, these are not the Warriors that we have once known. They're not nearly as deep. I thought Houston really did kind of a choke job. James Harden and the rest of the team, three-point shooting dynamics, absolutely shooting the lights out during the regular season, and then in the finals, the conference finals, didn't show up. Had a little lackluster shooting performance, and I think that ended up catching them up. And next thing you know, you got Hubba-doo, and Golden State is back in the finals on the Eastern Conference. Then we look at the Eastern side, and you got the Cleveland Cavaliers led by LeBron James. Oh, he's the king. You know, I thought I was the king of talk radio. Evidently not. Now, I got to tell you, in the East, you know, the East gets a lot of static saying that it doesn't have the competition that the Western Conference has, and that was your finals that we just showed. Houston and Golden State, but I'm here to tell you that's not the case. I think LeBron James has something to prove, and he's going to take his Cavaliers to the next level. He's got a bunch of different recruits. He's only had it. Remember, this Cleveland Cavaliers team has only been around for half a season, and they are yet back in the NBA Finals once again. For how many times, let me ask you a fun fact, how many times has LeBron James been in the NBA Finals over the last 8 years? If you answered 8, you're correct. Where's that sound effect coming from? I'm just kidding. 8 years he's been to the finals. And I'm telling you right now, he should be NBA MVP. His season is absolutely tremendous. Oh, absolutely tremendous. And I'm not going to sit here and lollygag at you when I sit here and tell you that there's probably a 75% chance that the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be walking away NBA champions this year. Okay? You can take that to the bank. Let's not talk about $500 donations. Let's talk about real money coming to Mad Dog Russo when I win my bets in Vegas, because I'm calling the Cleveland Cavaliers winning in 6 games. That's right.
6 games, Mad Dog?
That's right. Look, get off my microphone here. I'm calling in. I'm doing you a favor. I'm taking the first segment in the second hour off of your chest, okay? Let the guy that runs the great Sirius XM finish up his segment here talking about sports, okay? You never talk about sports. Don't even talk about it. Anyway, I say it. I'm going to stand firm. I'm going to give you my high line right now, Cavs in 6. And I don't think it's even going to be that close. I think the Cavs are going to go to Golden State here on Thursday. Probably lose the first game. A little bit of rust to knock off. Got to game plan a little bit. And then they'll probably split the series. Then they come back to Cleveland. They'll win both in Cleveland. You go 2-1. They'll win back again in Golden State. And then they'll close it out in Cleveland this time. Remember 2016? They won it at Golden State. Finally, the Cleveland Cavaliers will win in front of their hometown. And I'm not going to sit there and say that Cleveland's going to burn to the ground. You know, this isn't Detroit. Or all those other places that don't know how to celebrate in a great way. Okay? But the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to win in 6. This is Christopher Mad Dog Russo, and I'm very excited to take time here on the BBQ Central Show. Thank you very much. Having a little bit of tough time getting out here. All right. I'm going to turn it back over to the man that talks about barbecue and grilling like no other, Greg Rempe. Mad Dog Russo, I'm out of here!
Wow, that was Christopher Mad Dog Russo right there, in case you missed him. Wow. I had no firm answer that he was actually going to call in and do the segment. But thank God. Either that or somebody did kind of a terrible impression.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Did he say calves and six?
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue.
Hold on.
A man actually named me.
Now, wait. Hold on. He said calves and six, right? Yeah. All right. Hey, I would love to see that. By the way, I'm not necessarily averse to that mindset. I think they might win 2 in Golden State. LeBron James, man on a mission. Green Mountain Grills is what we're talking about right now. 3 different sizes to choose from if you're so inclined. You have the Jim Bowie, which is the big ship of the bunch. You have the Daniel Boone's, which is the medium. Then you have the Davy Crockett, which is your tailgate style or your mobile unit, if you will. If you're somebody that likes to hunt and camp or just be mobile at any notice, the Davy Crockett's the one you're going to want to take around if you don't have access to traditional plug power. You can use the 12-volt adapter right in your vehicle. And you don't have to sacrifice quantity for portability, which is great. You can put a couple pork butts on that bad boy and you're off and running. You can serve 50 people with 2 pork butts, depending on how much you eat. I mean, if you eat a lot, might be 30 people. Still, 2 pork butts feeds a lot of people. Inexpensive as well. Then you have the Daniel Boone and the Jim Bowie. Both of those will accommodate, Daniel Boone more than Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie more than the Daniel Boone. Sorry, yeah, the Daniel Boone. Both of those, however, you can rip the guts out and buy that pizza insert, $120 I'm seeing on Amazon right now. Are you kidding me? This thing turns your Green Mountain Grill into a gourmet, high-heat pizza oven. You like those Neapolitan-style pies that are all the rage right now in the live fire cooking and grilling community? Get your dough, roll it out, put on your toppings, lightly sauce, maybe some fresh mozzarella, a gabagol, a capace. Put it in the oven, and away you go. 3 minutes later, maybe, you got fresh pizza ready to go. Pizza party. You can do multiple pizzas you can do like 10 pizzas in 20 minutes. Maybe more than that, depending on how heat or how high you're running the cooker. Rule of thumb, wherever the cooker is set at on the temperature, double in the oven. So 350, get you 700 in the oven. Real easy. Head on over to greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. And check out all the products offerings. Then find a dealer. They sell through dealers. Now, the pizza oven insert you can get online, of course, because that's an accessory, but grills sold through dealers. Looking to line up Jason Baker here shortly, actually, to catch up on business with Green Mountain Grills. Doug Scheiding coming up out of the break, pitmaster of Rogue Cookers. Stick around. We'll be right back.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue. A man actually named Meathead. The author of a barbecue Bible. Bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, Smoking with Smithfield committed cooks. Make sure to head to smokingwithsmithfield.com and report your first place wins to claim your prizes. Have you registered to compete in the American Royal Pork Loin Ancillary? Smithfield just increased the prize purse to $6,000. Make sure to sign up at the American Oil website today. And don't forget to sign up for the Smokin' with Smithfield Classic, which will be in Richmond, Virginia. That's a Commonwealth. On September 29th. To sign up, reach out to Jesse with Big Papa Smokers at jesse@bigpapasmokers.com. All right. Joining me now to talk a little show karma, to talk a little Traeger grills, and other stuff is the official Texas embedded correspondent of this show, Doug Scheiding. Doug, how are you, buddy?
Doing well. Good evening, Greg.
Good evening to you. Happy to have you aboard as always, Doug. Appreciate you turning it around in successive weeks. You know, the rest of the tools don't get to do that. You know what I'm saying? Nice shirt, by the way. We're trading shirts here. I'm Road Cooker, your horse meat 2018 or 2017?
2017, but still a hit at the Kentucky Derby and Preakness parties that I went to.
Yeah, so like, what was that like? People asking you about it, or were they shy and didn't want to start that conversation, or what?
Oh, no, several people asked me about it, and so I asked them, that I was for the ethical and humane slaughter of horses, and that here in the U.S., and, rather than shipping them to Canada and Mexico for slaughter or burning them out in the back of the field. And they would just kind of look at me and say, what? I said, well, have you really thought of what happens to a horse when they die? And they're like, no, we hadn't really thought about it. And I'm like, well, there's nothing better than horse tartar.
Right.
Just ask the Europeans.
Just ask the Europeans. We love the Europeans for that. For not much else, but for that for sure. All right, Doug, yes. So let's talk about the show karma. Last week I had to, in the show open, get out in front of what was a barrage of emails of people saying, oh, Melissa Cookson was on your show last Tuesday and she didn't win and the show karma's BS and blah, blah, blah. Well, lo and behold, a handsome man named Doug Scheiding does my show, as he does the fourth Tuesday of every month. Bonus Tuesday this month, we get 5 instead of 4. You didn't say anything about going to a barbecue competition this past weekend. You didn't ask to do any type of promo and or otherwise. And you summarily went out and placed 3rd overall at your cook-off. I mean, yes, if there isn't a better case for show karma just attaching itself to good people, I don't know what better example to prove.
It just showed the haters that it does exist. But perhaps next time I'll ask for a little karma, and that'll just give me the extra push to get over.
Where were you at this past weekend?
I was at the Bandera Rodeo. That's in Bandera, Texas, about an hour outside of San Antonio. So it's one I've done since actually, I think this is my 8th or 9th year in a row. Most memorable is 2 years ago when we got stuck in a flood there for 17 hours after the cook-off. So yeah, we reserved that year. So I've reserved it 3 times, and I was hoping to improve on it and get a belt buckle. So I've got 3 belt buckles from them.
Is there cash that goes along with it, or is Texas really more about the belt buckles and not the cash?
There are a few contests that are about the cash, but it's always about the nice belt buckles because they actually are made by a company in Bandera called Hi-O Silver that makes the belt buckles for the PBR, the Professional Bull Riding Association. Oh, really? So these are really nice. Have the gold and rubies and very nice. So yeah, I've got 3 of those. So I was hoping to get one more. I was in the lead until the last 2 calls, and a couple of my friends leapfrogged me. So Can Heat, Kit Polk of Can Heat, him, and then JD Williamson. So yeah.
These are IBCA contests?
Actually, no. It was an IBCA last year. It was a Lone Star contest. LSD. So yeah, it was a Lone Star, but had a lot of categories. So there were 8 turn-ins, believe it or not. Obviously, 3 only counted towards the grand champion, but there were 5 other ancillary categories that we also entered as well. Of course, pinto beans, and we always have pinto beans.
What is the status of Texas competition barbecue right now?
I think from the standpoint of most of the people are still leaning towards IBCA, and so the LSBS does have a Not as many contests as they did last year, but they are, there are some stalwarts, and like this one that went back to Lone Star. But most of the cook-offs in Texas are still IBCA.
Do you see any growth whatsoever of KCBS pushing in at all, or is whatever they have on the docket pretty much standard year after year?
I see a few of the cooks wanting to cook more KCBS, primarily because they get the scoring, so that after the cook-off, different than in IBCA, where if you're not on the final table, which is, maybe the last 18 or 20 in our, suicide round kind of thing, that you don't know where you finish. So you could have finished 21st, or you could have finished dead ass last. You just don't know. So a lot of people like the KCBS, where you do get some feedback and you get scores, no matter where you finish.
Are they still as popular, the Texas competitions, when you look at just a sheer amount of teams entering in versus a sanctioning body like a Kansas City Barbecue Society? Texas typically has way more teams at any singular event than a KCBS event does. Still the same thing right now?
I would say the IBCA is still, keeping a lot of the high end number of cooks at a cook-off. LSBS is probably a little lower. I was actually going to have this as one of my segments or takes on our embedded correspondent, is that I think we're seeing a little bit of a die down in the number of cooks out there. So like, in some of the last 2 or 3 cooks, a lot of times you'll go out there and you've got some bubbas out there, as I'll call them, and they're out there to party. They've got, their offset cooker and it's billowing white smoke and everything. And you're like, yeah, turn on the disco ball. Let's party. And, they're not probably going to do well the next day. So, but they help towards the numbers.
How many other events do you have competition wise on the docket here over the next handful of months?
Well, it was hot almost all over the U.S. this past weekend. It was about like 97, 98 degrees, and losing 5 pounds of water weight on a Friday and Saturday isn't great fun for me. But I'm going to probably take off June and July and August from a competitive standpoint. Mm-hmm. But we'll be attending a couple of special events, and then obviously going to some of the Traeger classes as well. Teaching some of those. Let's
talk about Traeger here just for a second. We'll talk about the shop classes here in just a moment. But in regards to the cookers, we've obviously talked I don't know if we've talked about it specifically, but Chad has talked about it a little bit. There's been the Pro line of cookers, which I think we would probably agree, if you're looking to step into the pellet cooker portion, maybe you have a charcoal cooker and you have a gas grill and you've heard about these pellet cookers. This is probably a step that you want to take, unless you just have mad cash and you feel pretty good about your skills and you just want to jump into the Timberline section. The Pro is probably like a good stepping stone to gauge whether you think you're going to like pellet cookers, and then you could probably step into that Timberline. What do you like about the Pro series?
Oh, the Pro series, they're workhorses. Number one, the older grill models have the straight legs. Traeger came out with the Pro series, and it's got the sawhorse legs. They're actually much more sturdy, especially if you're going to transport them around. And so that they have the Pro 22 and the Pro 34, and you can get a second shelf on each of those. But those are workhorses. They have the new controller, which is a little more accurate in terms of, if you set it at 275, it's going to stay pretty close to 275. And so those two grills are a good entry level. And a lot of times people buy the Pro 22. I wouldn't recommend it unless you're, just going to cook a little bit at home. You're almost always going to want a little extra space in my view. So even if you're leaning towards the Pro 22, I think the Pro 34 is $999. And, like on Father's Day, they do $100 off and those sorts of things. So, or throw in a free cover, front shelf, etc.
So what kind of a capacity, if you could paint that picture, sometimes people don't have access to a computer or a smartphone, they're driving, listening to the show. How much meat can you put in a 22 versus a 34?
22, you could probably get 3 racks of ribs across, maybe 4, but front to back. I always cut my ribs into 10 bones, and so I do them front to back. On a Pro 34, you could probably get five, maybe 6 going across, and then you could probably get 2 on top. Now, if you use like a rib rack, I've cooked 16 racks in a Pro 34 before using the 2 Traeger rib racks, which are like $25 a piece. So, and they came out great.
Then you have the Timberline models. Obviously, we've hyped those up here on the show, and they're out. They're doing really well. I have an 850, which I'm really falling madly in love with. It cooks very evenly. The capacity is great. You can remove the shelves easily depending on what you're cooking, or maybe you just don't want it in there because of whatever it is you're cooking. You just want the extra top space to work around with. What do you think sets the Timberline apart from some of the other pellet cookers out there on the market today? Because, from a visual standpoint, it doesn't have like a visual smokestack that you see on one side of the cooker. It's all vented out of the back because of that special smoke burn technology.
Correct. Yeah. They put over $5 million, and they being the new group that purchased Traeger about 4 years ago, they put about over $5 million in R&D into this particular smoker. So it's built like a tank. The Ear 850 weighs 213 pounds, I believe.
It's heavy.
The 1300 weighs like 270. So it's built like a tank. And, previously Yoder's had always been, kind of had that reputation as being, built heavy, et cetera. So, with the Timberline, it's double insulated. And I actually think that really helps from the standpoint of keeping humidity in the chamber, because I've actually got 3 850s that I use in my competition. I have two and one backup. So I've got, you always have to have a backup. So and I use those exclusively in my competitions. And I think that with the double insulation, it keeps more humidity. So I typically cook overnight and I just let it go. And when I get up the next morning, a lot of times my meat is still moist and it's not dried out. With a lot of cookers, it dries out. So they've got the Wi-Fi capability, controlling things, with the app. And, overall, I think they applied for like 16 patents when they released the Timberline. So, there's a lot of advanced features. I use the Super Smoke capability, which is basically between 165 and 225 that you can do a super smoke. And what it's, I believe it's what it's actually doing is turning on and off the fan. And if you get something done, it also has a keep warm button, so you can keep it warm, and it actually takes the temperature down. So a lot of different capabilities, in addition to the 5 inches extra vertical height, which goes into the smoke technology. So it's built more like a pill versus oval. So I think that that actually helps. It just seems really roomy inside.
Oh, absolutely. And aesthetically, it looks very roomy when you have the lid open as well. So we'll get into the cooking class here in just a second, but I know there seems to be some confusion, whether it's the Pro line or the Timberline, as you start it up. When I read my manual, it said a lid open until fire established, and then close your lid. And then I've been seeing scuttlebutt on the internet about should the top be open, should it be down? What can you tell me as having an affiliation with Traeger?
Well, I'm not speaking on behalf of Traeger. I'm giving my opinion and what I believe to be true through use, et cetera, and what I've read. But let me just state that up front.
Sure.
On older models, let's say before the Pro series and the Timberline, had the older controller. And that older controller had something called what was called a P setting. And that P setting is the pause. So basically, it's set for 65 seconds, i.e. the auger will not turn except every 65 seconds. So, but you can change that. And, so it's more of a manual thing. And you can change that to 45 seconds. So you can, and I always do that because I actually think that helps with flameouts, because why wouldn't you want the auger turning more often than not? Now, with the newer Pro series, so you start with the lid open there because you're trying to get as much oxygen into the chamber. So that's totally true. Start with the lid open. On the Pro series and the Timberline, it's a PID controller. So what's happening is that's a closed feedback loop system. Mm-hmm. So even as you're starting up, it's learning. It's constantly learning based on the ambient temperature outside, et cetera, how many pellets to put in, and how many rotations for the auger to basically get a certain response. And so as you're starting up, you need to have it closed, whether it's the Pro or the Timberline because it's learning. And I think what that'll help with is if you, as you're cooking, it's basically like a sinusoid, a wavy type function where it, overshooting, undershooting, and you're just trying to maintain 275. Maybe it goes 265. But if you start with the lid open, it's learning wrong. It's the error value that it's calculating, the PID controller is wrong. And so what happens is you get these large spikes. And I've gone on some of the, Reddit and Facebook, et cetera, and I've told people that were having flame out problems, in addition to that they're not, vacuuming their grill out, but, not even getting into that subject, that to start it with the lid closed. And the last 2 or 3 people have come back to me in the last month or so and said that has absolutely helped them a lot with flame outs.
All right.
So
we'll make sure that we keep an eye on that. Next time I start mine, I will do with lid down and report back as well. Lastly, I want to talk about the Traeger shop class. I do talk about that in the reads, of course, but you're one of those class teachers. What can one expect from a class, and where are the ones you're going to be teaching at next?
Okay. I've taught 4 this year, and the way that shop classes are done is they're done in pairs of 2. So the first night is what's considered quote unquote barbecue classics. So we will we'll do ribs, we'll do pizza, we'll do a peach cobbler that we make, and so and then a ribeye roast. We will actually take a whole ribeye roast, cut it in front of the class, and then we'll take it, put it on a Timberline, super smoke it for about an hour and a half or so, and then we'll do a reverse sear in front of the class. In addition, we also do a smoked lemonade where we use some of the Traeger simple syrup in Tito's, and we'll have that for the class, and we'll teach the class. So basically, we go through the recipes in front of the class and show them how we would do it. Maybe give them some advanced tips and tricks and things like that about how to do the recipes. With your ribs, do you wrap? What do you put in the wrap? And those sorts of things for a competition, how we would do it at home. And then the second day is the Meat Masters class. And that's where we get into some of the big meats, where we have smoked lemonade again, but we have chicken. So I of course do the half chickens here in Texas, pork butt, brisket, and we also do a rib roast. And so we do a trim right in front of them. I actually inject right in front of the class. The ones that we do as demos, we actually give away at the end of the class, and people take them home. It's like this last class I did in Huntsville. The guy cooked it and sent an email in saying it was the best brisket he had ever done. So if you go to Traeger, #Traeger shop class, you can look at some of the pictures and stuff that people are posting. I've had people say that it was the best $100 they ever spent, sort of thing, because you're getting a lot of tips and tricks on how to use pellet grills, whether it's a Traeger or some other grill, and also some of the competition type tricks that we may add, which can help a cook, kind of come along, whether they're a backyard cook trying to, be better for their family or be the best in their neighborhood.
And that's $100 for both days?
It's $100 per class.
Per class, okay.
Per class.
So for the weekend, it'd be a couple, $200. That's pretty cheap.
Oh, and we feed them everything too. Yeah. So we prep everything, plus we feed them everything. So generally the briskets are the Wagyu Snake River Farms briskets, and the so the rib roast is actually maybe ordered from Snake River Farms too.
Wow. And then so what do you go to TraegerGrills.com/shop class for that?
Yes.
For a schedule or whatever?
Yes, exactly. And then I think the next few are in South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. There's actually a road crew that takes the Traeger trailer around the U.S., and so they're kind of making stops around the U.S. So there's 2 people on that. And so, either myself, Chad, Danielle, and then I think Jason's teaching a couple. So my next ones are in Montana. Let's see. Actually, my next one is at Inside Out Patio in Toronto, July 13th and 14th. And then after that, I'm doing one at Ace Hardware up in Montana in Great Falls. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, it's going to be fun, actually.
No doubt.
Really fun.
Doug Scheiding is the pitmaster of Rogue Cookers, taking a third place overall this past weekend at the Bandera Rodeo Barbecue Cook-Off. Also, he will be teaching some Traeger shop classes coming up here in July and at points after. Doug, always appreciate the time, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it.
You got it. There he is. My guy, the official Texas embedded correspondent, Doug Scheiding.
All guests
right
appear via the Traeger Grills hotline. Yummy.
Well, I don't know about you, but if you have a Traeger and you've been a newer one and you've been firing it up with the lid open because that's what the direction said, maybe there's a whole different thing that we need to be working on, like not doing that. Doing it with the lid closed. Okay. Well, I'm going to try that out probably at some point this week. Actually, it'll be tomorrow as I'm getting ready for a pork buck cater. 4 pork butts going on tomorrow. Put them on and then go to work. Hey, Cook Shack manufactures smoker ovens for barbecue lovers with any amount of experience, whether you barbecue in the backyard, on the competition circuit, or in a 5-star dining facility. Cook Shack has the unit that will do the job, and with a full line of barbecue spices, sauces, pellets, and wood chunks, it's the perfect one-stop shop. Cook Shack strives to be your barbecue resource center by offering cooking classes, online recipes, how-to videos, 2 blogs, smoke and grilling 101s, and a video cooking classroom. Check out their website at cookshack.com or follow them on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, and Google+. Get advice and share your passion for barbecue on their world-class barbecue forum. Cook Shack pellet-fired smokers are the choice of champions because they were designed by a champion, Ed Fast Eddie Moore, and the FEC 100, PG 1000, always customer favorites. The PG 1000 can double as a smoker and a grill, low and slow, hot and fast. The pellet grill line gives you the most for your money. Cook Shack residential electric smokers, the #1 smoker in the industry. High quality means high durability and versatility. Anything you can cook in your oven, you can make in a Cook Shack. Passion and dedication drives Cook Shack's manufacturing, with quality always being at the forefront. Get the best in barbecue since 1962. Call 800-423-0698 or visit the website cookshack.com. That's cookshack.com. Helping me close the show, Chris LaRocco, Trae Fuels. Stick around. Be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This segment brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. And if you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232 today. Attention, ladies, daughters, sons, anybody who's not a father's. You want to know what to get your dad for Father's Day? The Fireboard! Thank me later. Thanks again to Doug Scheiding for joining me last segment, talking about Traeger and other such stuff, learning new things. Hey, a few weeks ago I mentioned that I had been putting eyeballs on a new fuel source coming from Kingsford, the longtime charcoal manufacturing heavyweight, that being wood pellets. That was mostly confirmed last week when I saw bags of pellets, I think at Memphis in May, and then completely confirmed earlier today by my final guest of the evening. Indeed, Kingsford officially in the cooking wood pellet business. So let's go ahead and race to the Traeger Grills hotline and welcome the corporate strategist for Trae Fuels, Chris LaRocco, joining me here on the show. Chris, how are you, buddy?
Hey, doing pretty good, Greg. How are you?
Absolutely fabulous, Chris. Appreciate you making time here for the show. Kind of short notice, so I appreciate you jumping in on that. What does a corporate strategist do? That sounds very fancy.
Actually, that was an old title. I'm actually general manager of Trae Fuels and have been now for a couple of years. But what a corporate strategist does is looks outside the company for what's next and brings that into the fold. So it's always looking out towards the future and what consumers need.
So when I was visiting the website traefuels.com, which is TRAE, traefuels.com, am I correct in thinking that Trae is part of a bigger company? It's just like one shoot off?
Yeah, that is correct. Trae is a subsidiary of the parent company, Envirotech Services.
So what does Envirotech Services do, and how does Trae Fuels fit into that glove?
So Envirotech Services is a de-icing and dust control company. We produce and distribute products all from the state of Washington onto Maryland, and primarily it's used in road de-icing or for dust control on rural roads or unpaved roads, keeping drivers safe during the winter season, and we operate mostly in the snow belts.
Have you always?
And Trae Fuels was go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
And Trae Fuels was a diversification into obviously a weather-related industry, but something that the owner of Envirotech became enamored by. Very interested in the wood, the wood fuels, the renewable energy space. Obviously, big deal. Has been for a while, so diversified into that.
How long has Trae Fuels been part of that parent company then? Is it something that's been new-ish, or has it been pretty long-lasting at this point?
That's about 4 years in now.
Okay. So fairly new.
Yeah, fairly new, correct, yes.
So was the initial getting into it from a wood pellet heating side, like your home and stuff like that, fireplaces or wood pellet wood stoves, or was it traditionally for cooking?
No. Initially it was, as you said, for home heating. And also for the European markets. A lot of European utilities have converted from coal over to wood pellets. So that was part of the overall strategy of acquiring Trae Fuels, to be in those markets.
What process, and I'm not looking for any trade secrets here if there are any, but like what's your pellet making process?
Pellet making process is, we use pulp wood, which is, obviously the top 20 or 30, feet of the tree. And we debark it, chip it, hammer it, get it down to a fiber size that's something that can be pelletized. So it's more of a traditional operation. Some folks use only residuals that they can buy from sawmills and what have you. We do both. Everybody likes to talk about green and sustainability and stuff like that. Like, what's the mission or the company vision there on either replacing what you're taking or how are you taking what you're taking in order to make sure everything is sustainable? Right. So what our supply chain looks at what would be normally left in the field or what would normally go to pulp and paper. We don't use any of the waste woods that come from local communities into our process, but we use what would be considered anything that's not used for a saw log for building materials.
When you look at other cooking pellet manufacturers, we'll do a little differentiator here. There's always initially it was pellets that had a decent base of oak for BTUs, let's say, 50%, maybe 60%, and then they were putting in a certain percentage of whatever the actual flavor on the bag was, whether it be apple or cherry or hickory or you name it. But the oak was there for BTUs. The other stuff was there for the quote-unquote flavor. And then over time, I started seeing, for instance, the first time I ever saw 100% hickory pellet was from Cook Shack a number of years ago. Now, that's obviously since morphed into other pellet makers making 100% hickory or some of these other woods. Then I guess apple doesn't really generate the BTU, so you don't really want 100% apple wood, and I would assume that trickles down to some of the other species. But how is your pellet different from some of the other cooking pellets that are out there on the market?
Well, along those same lines, so when you look at what was originally available in the marketplace and still is available in the marketplace, you're absolutely correct in saying that a lot of what we consider filler woods, oak, alder, what have you, were put into the blend, and not necessarily, in my opinion, for BTU, because when we have our pellets, our 100% hickory, cherry, oak, compared to the leading brands in terms of BTU, those are right in line with the BTU values of around 8,000. So what really drives a pellet manufacturer to be able to produce a 100% species product really is the wood basket that they're in. So the wood basket that they're in and the logging operations that are nearby to help, bring that supply of cherry, apple, hickory, oak, what have you, into the facility and to be able to process it is a big deal. So what differentiates us is we saw the market, we know what other people are doing, and we thought it was a little disingenuous because if you put hickory on the bag and it's really not hickory, then what are your meat flavors or the palette of flavors? What are you really getting there? So the concept behind bringing this 100% species product to market, obviously with the Kingsford brand on it, was really about quality and a high quality and a premium pellet in a bigger way. The folks that you just mentioned, they were like you said, one of the first people to start bringing 100% hickory to the market. So we're taking that same concept and we're just doing it in a bigger way with the Kingsford brand.
Chris LaRocco joining me here from Trae Fuels. Chris, Kingsford known for charcoal, right? I mean, they are the titans of the charcoal industry. Different variations of charcoal as well, but never up until this point pellets. Any idea why they decided to get into the pellet game?
Well, it's a space that's growing and it's growing rapidly. The introduction of lower cost devices out over the past couple of seasons have only compelled consumers to, involve themselves in pellet grilling. And so that can't be ignored anymore. It's taking over a large space within the grilling community. Just like lump charcoal was, a big deal, and it still is a big deal. It just can't be ignored anymore. It just continues to grow. And Kingsford, looked at the space, and obviously we've partnered with Kingsford because it's on the fuel side. The pellets are on the fuel side, just like the briquettes are on the fuel side, or they've also got chips and chunks as well. So it's something that they wanted to do, and we worked with them for about a year, and came out of that as the sole licensee for the product.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would imagine that when a company like Kingsford is out looking for a partner in this kind of a venture, that there's probably a fairly extensive, if not extremely extensive, vetting process that goes through. Obviously, their name is going to go on the bag. Trae Fuel making it, but still Kingsford is kind of a live fire grilling and industry leading name. How do you guys end up securing the business? Did they just like the way you guys operated? Did they like quality of product? Was it kind of a combination of all those things?
Yeah, you just hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly right. And the due diligence process was fairly extensive, so everything you said is absolutely correct. For them to put their name on a product, obviously, is going to be a little bit more extensive than us trying to go it alone, or anybody else for that matter.
Did you guys ever think about making like Trae Fuels cooking pellets and trying to bring them to market yourselves?
We absolutely did, and in such a crowded market space, it's very difficult for a producer to do that. Most of the folks that have been around for a long time have secured their position. They've cemented it. Very difficult to open doors. So for us, obviously, and the relationship with Kingsford has helped us be able to bring this product to market.
Do you know?
Which would be very difficult to do on your own.
Do you know if they ever considered taking it in-house? I mean, they have a couple different charcoal manufacturing facilities across the country. Obviously, that doesn't relate to pellets, but do you know if that was something under consideration?
No, I'm not aware of any of that.
Does partnering with Kingsford open doors for Trae Fuels now to do more private labeling? Like if I wanted to do BBQ Central cooking pellets, are you open to other partnerships, or does partnering with Kingsford now pretty much tie you up as far as pellet production?
Yeah, pellet production, we're pretty tied up. But if you can imagine the amount of interest that we're getting, via the Kingsford relationship, it's becoming bigger by the day. And so to venture off and try to do something else, it's just not something that we would even want to do.
Pure speculation on my point here with the statement I'm about to make, and I'll ask you to make pure speculation as well from an answer standpoint. I think there has to be another shoe that is going to drop, and that being potentially a Kingsford pellet cooker. Total solution. You're making the pellets. They got a pellet cooker. It seems like a match made in heaven. Any idea if that might happen?
Yeah, I believe that that has been pitched. I do believe that's something that's on the horizon. I wouldn't doubt that that's something that's on the horizon right now. So it just makes sense to be a total solution. You are correct.
Could there be this is totally off base and really has nothing to do with Kingsford other than they make charcoal, but could there be a charcoal pellet made, or by the time it gets to a charcoal state, can you not really make it what we would know as a pellet?
No, you couldn't do that. No, it's just you can't pelletize it, obviously. There are people that are doing a lot of carbonization right now, and various for soil remediation and what have you. That's another growing industry, but that's not something that would be used for any grilling. And it would be, I don't know, from an engineering perspective, if it's even possible.
Is this available, the Kingsford pellets, are they available for sale like in special locations across the country right now, or is it nationwide if you go on Amazon or various retail locations?
Yeah, Amazon, we're nationwide, retail locations, currently in 15 Cabela's. Started testing last season with them. And this month we are rolling out into 172 Lowe's stores with the potential of going to 1,200. And also all of the Sears hometown stores are going to be carrying the competition blend pellet.
Yeah, so you got.
And then we've got a bunch of other products in the works. So
yeah, you got the competition blend out right now. You also have the 100% hickory pellet. What's the price point, and what are you getting from a volume standpoint for the price?
So the price point, the on-shelf price right now for the hickory and the competition blend are $18.99. And we are rolling out a 10-pound bag exclusive to Lowe's for this season. And the price point there, I believe, is going to be $11.99. Apologize. And Lowe's will also have 100% oak and cherry in their product mix. So you can get 4 types at Lowe's versus the 2 types that we have out right now in a 20-pound bag.
All right, so the $18.99 is 20-pound bag.
Correct.
Okay. So it's right in line with pretty much everything else. Go on Amazon if you want it. Otherwise, keep your eyes out on Lowe's stores and Cabela's as well in a limited run. We're talking with Chris LaRocco from Trae Fuels. Chris, really appreciate the time tonight. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Take care.
You got it. There he is, Chris LaRocco. I want to say corporate strategies, but he's general manager.
All guests appear via the Traeger Grills hotline.
It's fun type. Well, look at that.
Yummy.
Man, imagine you're the pellet manufacturer that gets to private label Kingsford pellets. That's like a pretty big deal, I think. I wonder how many of the other pellet manufacturers were solicited. Were all pellet manufacturers on the board for Kingsford? I got to get Kingsford in on this. That was the pellet manufacturer's side. Another first-time guest doing a bang-up job. Good job, Chris. Thank you. We'll come back and wrap up the show right after this. But first, let me talk to you quickly about Traeger grills. That's right. Behind every great meal is a great grill. But not just any grill, a Traeger grill. And the Timberline is Traeger's most advanced grill yet. It allows you to grill, smoke, bake, roast, braise, and barbecue like a pro, no matter what your level of experience, thanks to the incredible wood-fired taste. Seriously, you don't know flavor till you're cooking with it. Traeger grills use all-natural hardwood pellets as fuel, so you're literally cooking with flavor. From low and slow smoked ribs to a seared steak, even a baked apple pie, Traegers can handle it all. And the Traeger Timberline makes it even easier thanks to the Wi-Fi capability. You can check on your cooks, kick up temperatures, and set custom cook cycles anytime, anywhere, all from your phone through the Traeger Grill app. In fact, I used it just this past weekend to check on the brisket that I made, which, by the way, was really awesome. By the way, unsolicited shout out to Danny and the homies over at Barbecue Smokehouse for the brisket hookup. Appreciate that. They gave me the raw brisket. They did the brisket fashion show. Loved it. Find a Traeger Grill dealer to check out the products, or check them out online, TraegerGrills.com. As we talked about with Doug Scheiding 2 segments ago, want to beef up your barbecue game? Yeah. Traeger Shop Class is going from coast to coast right now, bringing you barbecue knowledge and amazing wood-fired food everywhere you go. Taught by professional pit masters, you'll take home all the skills you need to reach barbecue glory. Find a shop class near you and sign up today at TraegerGrills.com/shopclass. Once again, that's TraegerGrills.com/shopclass. Doug will be in Toronto, I think, and then in Montana. Meanwhile, he's HQ'd in Texas. Frequent flyer miles, Dougie. Buckle up. All right, we're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back. We have some times for phone calls, too, if you want to jump in real quick. 216-220-0966. Don't forget, as we close out the show, make sure that you hit up the Facebook donations. Try and get Ben to that $6,000 watermark of revenue for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And there's a Facebook donation page as well. So whichever one you want to use, please donate. Don't forget, first one to do a singular donation of $500 and can prove it to me, I will also donate $500. Very easy. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
Thanks again to Chris LaRocco from Trae Fuels joining me, talking about the new partnership with Kingsford on their cooking wood pellets. They'll actually have 4 different flavors: oak, cherry, hickory, and the competition blend, which I believe is 45% oak, hickory, and then 10% cherry. I think that's right. Going from memory, by the way. Traefuels.com to check out their website if you want to do that. TRAE Fuels.com. All right, let's go ahead and get ready to wrap it up all the way back in the first hour. First timer to the show, Adrian Miller, Soul Food Scholar, at Soul Food Scholar on Twitter, Soul Food Scholar. Actually, I believe it's adrianmiller.com is his website. Let me pull it up here real quick. Yeah, Adrian Miller, ADRIAN. AdrianMiller.com is website, at Food Scholar on the Twitter if you want to check him out. After that, it was Ben Volpe. We were talking about type 1 diabetes. Again, running that telethon, visualathon, thingathon right now. Facebook links are up on the show feed right now. Hit up either site, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation or the Facebook donation page that are listed, and donate. See if we can't get him to $6,000. In the second hour, Doug Scheiding showed up, and we talked about his third place overall finish in Bandera this past weekend. Show Karma lives and reigns supreme as always. A little bit about the Traeger models, the Pro and the Timberline. We didn't talk about the tailgater. I meant to talk about the tailgater, Dougie. Damn it. Talked about how to light the new models with the lid shut. Lid shut. And rounding it out with Chris LaRocco at Trae Fuels, TraeFuels.com. They are the pellet manufacturer for Kingsford new wood pellets that are going into the cooking market. There you go. Big show lined up for you next week already, if you can believe it. Ray Lampe and a cast of others. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.